So the reason I developed this pad for this width is because it evenly balances and distributes the quarter straps here. If I've got just a small plate, it tends to want to go over to the left or to the right and doesn't keep the saddle solid. And some of them only have just one strap. That's like using a crupper. If you use a crupper, your crupper will move up to 2 to 2.5 inches. If you've got it 2 to 2.5 inches, it's banging that scapula all the time. The problem is our animals are stoic. And so they don't really say much about it until you start seeing them shake their head. They start shaking their head, they're starting to say, hey, this saddle is banging on my scapula. So that's the reason I designed this one here, so it will evenly distribute each one of the quarter straps to come down into place. Now, if I'm going to go down a real steep mountain, depending on the steepness. Now, at the Grand Canyon, we lowered our breeching really low, so that the mule would sit on it going down the different parts of the canyon. So if I'm going to take and go down a steep hill, I'll take and I'll adjust it. You're okay, little mule. Bring this up about there. This one here. Again, you're going to have to take and use a hole punch and punch the holes where you want them. There. Now, let's say I'm getting ready to go down a steep hill. I'm going to lower my breeching about to there. I'm riding just normal hills, just kind of going up and down pretty easy. I'm going to adjust my breeching up to about right here. Now I'm working cattle, I'm in pens. I got a lot of flat ground. I'll go ahead and adjust my breeching up to here. I do not keep my breeching at the same place. Notice on my breeching, it's at an angle, so it follows the hip. It lays flush against the animal. If it's not at an angle, it's going to tip, and you'll get places where it rubs and puts marks across here, and then you know that it's not setting flush. Has to set flush against the animal's back. The quarter straps keep the saddle from going left and right. The back straps help keep the saddle from going forward. Now, remember, as the mule walks, every time that hip comes back, it's going to hit that breeching and say, saddle stay here, saddle stay here. But still, the most important one is right here. This rear cinch really keeps that saddle from going forward more than anything else. But what happens to the cinch? As you're going down the trail, the cinch loosens up, doesn't it? So then you have to depend upon your breeching and your breast collar to help keep the saddle into place. So we'll go ahead and go to the next spot. He's nice and relaxed. Now we got that and we got that. Now, the breast collar then, I'll pull over. I want it to follow the slope of the shoulder. What I don't want to do is inhibit these shoulder points right here. So if you notice, the breast collar is up off the shoulder and will follow the slope of it. As the animal walks, every time the shoulder hits it, it keeps from pulling the saddle forward. If you're using a pulling collar or a collar attached into the saddle, every time the shoulder hits it, it's going to bring the saddle forward. So you don't want it to always be pulling the saddle forward. You want it to be pulling the saddle forward. Two things. One, when you're dragging an animal or pulling something. The other one's going uphill. Now, this strap then helps going into this D-ring. Let me lower this down one here. It goes into this D-ring. Now, this breast collar then helps keep this cinch into place. This strap right here, which I'd go ahead and make it closer together, helps keep this cinch into place. So this one keeps this one in place. This one here is held together by the front breast collar and the rear cinch. Now, once I've got that on my animal, I've got the saddle on him, I'm going to take and just walk him around a little bit. Let him feel it. Let him listen to the saddle. Now, notice as the animal walks, notice how the breeching hits and comes away from the hip. Hits and comes away from the hip. It doesn't stay against the breeching or against the butt all the time. Can you guys see that? Okay? So it bumps it. It basically says saddle stay here, saddle stay here, saddle stay here. It doesn't stay against the animal all the time saying saddle stay here. So if you're rubbing a lot, that means you got the saddle improperly adjusted. So once I do that, this is a 36-inch cinch. I like to put a 38 on this mule. There. All right. So now once I move the animal around a little bit, I don't try to tighten the cinch, everything right when they're standing still. I'll tighten it up a little bit and then I'll move them around. I'll tighten them up a little bit and then I'll move them around. That way I don't teach them to blow air into their lungs. Okay? So now I'll take the back cinch and I'll go to the next link. Right there. My front cinch, just to right there. Now, my breeching, I can slide my hand in here. That's a 1/2 inch. And then when I pull it away, I should see about 1 inch. Now I start to feel it tight. Now that's my first adjustment. I can use that as my adjustment to get them started with. So I slide my hand in, it's a 1/2 inch, pull it away, there's 1 inch. Now I've got a breeching that helps keep my saddle from going side to side. I've got a breeching that helps keep the saddle from going forward. And if you notice, all these different parts move. Everything works together, telling the saddle, stay here, stay here. As the cinches get looser, these breast collar and the breeching together help keep it solid into place. So notice how it moves. Notice how your breeching moves. You want it to move. Oh, you're fine. Step, step, step. You guys ever use that knot? Bank robber's one name for it, yep.